Question for you. When you define a process, like I'm as a leader in my business, I always think about like SMART targets: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. So like a process, like let's say, for example, we have a Google Doc right now, which is a quick summary of what the process is and what it's here to achieve. And then we have a trigger, an action, and a result you've talked about. Are there some other measurables you put around it? Like I might define how long it should take, for example, or the cost, or like are there other kind of considerations that kind of help support that documentation or that process to educate the paper airplane creator in like what's acceptable and what's a good guideline? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm going off piste.
Yeah, I mean, we do the same as you've just outlined. It's really important to, what gets measured can get managed, right? So you want to have key performance indicators around your business. Now, the most obvious key performance indicator for Amazon sellers and for e-commerce businesses is what's the revenue, what's the sales, right? That's the most obvious, what everybody does. Get the Seller Central app. Oh, I've had X amount of sales today or X amount of sales this month. That's the most obvious KPI. But underneath that KPI is actually an iceberg of many different metrics that has led up to that. So how many units have you shipped? How much you've been purchasing? How many leads have been coming into the business? What has been good? What's not been good? So when you start thinking about the processes and the individual tasks that you're doing, having some form of KPI assigned to it has many different advantages. Number one, it shows when a task is actually like complete, right? So if a goal, let's say for example, a goal is you want your sourcing team to purchase, their purchasing target is you want to purchase £2,000 today, right? That's the target every day. Well, that's going to share with them very obviously, have they reached the target or have they not? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So if they know what the target is, it gives them an actual finish line of like, okay, that is my goal. And the more that you can do that, which is aligned to your business goals, right? So reverse engineered back to what your business goal ultimately is and what your goal actually is, it allows your team to know whether they're working in the right direction. Are they achieving the goals that they have? At that point, they will know themselves. Are they doing a great job? Do they need some help? Do you need to come in and see what's maybe working, what's not working? And then of course, you can start getting even more advanced. You can time, right? You can see how quickly is one sourcing team member working compared to another sourcing team member, or one warehouse processor working to another warehouse processor. And you can start to really fine tune and get into the details of the metrics. But in general, if you can measure, you can manage.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I think if I kind of break it down, like summarize it, but also break it down more, like we talk about like business, Amazon business, the ultimate goal is profitability. The more profit you make, fantastic. We can come back down a bit further down the level and say revenue, and we can come down further and like spend. And if you break it down on a VA, for example, then it's going to be like the number of deals submitted, for example. Then it's going to be like number of ASINs viewed would be a good example. And then like it could be, like hours worked, maybe. That's not really a good one. But the idea is like generally the more products you scan, the more products you're going to be able to analyze. The more products you analyze, the more deals you're going to find. The more deals you find, the more you're going to spend. The more you spend, the more your revenue, the more profit. And again, you're just defining the result, the end result, and working back. And between all those areas is like processes which help you find. And I'm guessing you're refining those processes to try and, you're looking for variations. Like if we try this, does that improve that KPI, that measurable? And oh no, it doesn't. Okay, well we don't do that. Why don't we try the opposite of that? Oh wow, it does. Like, or that tool or something. That's like kind of what
this is it. Like no matter what the goal is, somebody could have a goal to become a 7-figure seller. I want to sell £1 million, $1 million this year. Or it could be £100 million and $100 million, right? Whatever the figure is, it will have some KPIs and you'll be able to reverse engineer this back. Okay, so if your goal is $1 million, that based on what your average sell for price is that you've been selling, you will then know how many units have had to have sold. Okay, so now you know how many units we've had to have sold, then you can break that back further still. Well, how many units would you have had to ship to be able to sell that amount? Then if you're going to ship those units, you also have to then purchase those units. And if you're going to purchase those units, you're going to have to source those units. So it really starts to share with you and gives you clarity on this is my goal and this is what it's actually going to look like when I'm there.
Okay, so I just want to take a minute out of this interview right now to share with you that if you're thinking about building your own team, then understanding the numbers and actually the step-by-step process that you need to grow your business is going to be absolutely key. That's why I've put together a masterclass where I've explained exactly how to grow your business by $10,000 per month. And I've got this available for you to watch right now. It's from basically taking them from all the learnings they've done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link down below to that masterclass, and it's how to grow your business by 10,000 per month with a virtual assistant. Check it out. I'll drop a link down below. I think you're going to love it, and it's just going to show you how to take your business to the next level. Question for you. We talked about processes. We talked about what they look like, measurables, KPIs, for example. Is there anything we should be careful of? Anything we should be aware of and say, let's be careful here?
Yes, there is a really, really important thing to this, that processes and systems are very, very key, and the philosophy's there, but it's a never-ending improvement philosophy too, which means that if somebody is maybe watching this and now think, okay, I need to develop processes and systems, and now you spend the next 2 months and all you're doing is writing SOPs and recording screens, and you trying to develop your systems, all really valuable work, but it's about doing it. You don't have to do it all from day one. It's something. It's an evolution. It's something that you build on. Just like the original iPhone 1 turned into iPhone 2, and then iPhone 3 and iPhone 4. Now it's an iPhone 14. So the revisions, the process is a never-ending process. I would never want anybody, and it's something that can feel really overwhelming. Okay, so we need to systemize the business, and I need SOPs, and I need to have all these things, but it's really important to think about that is the goal, but where are you spending your time, and where do you need to spend your time where you're at? So if you are the one that's sourcing, and that is the critical task that you need to do to keep your business going and growing, then that's what you have to do. And then you work on those processes and systems and the documentation later on.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point. I think I think, from my own personal experiences, never come into this whole equation thinking that you're going to just get it right from day one. That's impossible, because if it was, you would have done it from day one. But we're still learning. So what we should really look at is, how can I make today 5% better than tomorrow? Or yesterday, sorry. How can I make today 5% better than yesterday? And how can I improve that system now? And I think when I look at my own internal business, we have like process documents, and all I do is I look at, number one, what's the version number? And if it's below 5, it's a bad process. If it's above 10, it's probably pretty good. But like between that, we're still figuring it out. It's not there yet. But also as well, number two is how often is it actually viewed? If it's not viewed, then it's not really used. But if it's viewed a lot, then I'm like, and it's got a high version number. And if you're using Google Docs, you can do like a change or revision history. See how many times it's been revised. And you're like, if it's been viewed a lot and it's got a lot of revision history, you're like, this is a well-used process. Why? Because it works. And I think that's a really important kind of metric. Think about, like, you're not here to solve it. It will never be solved. Why? Because the underlying marketplace is always changing. So there is no definitive, this is the answer. It's an always evolving process. And I think, the question for you is, would you agree with that? Like, is it a constant learning process, or what do you think?
It is. It's a constant learning process, because you are always maturing. You're always learning. We're always getting some successes. We're also getting failures, and you are always learning better practices, and you are implementing new ideas and new strategies. You're learning from other places, right? You may be reading books or listening to podcasts, and you think, oh, that's a good idea. Let's implement that into the business. So it's a never-ending learning process. It's just what's really key for us as business owners and entrepreneurs is really position ourselves, number one, where you can provide the most value to your business. But when you're right at the start and you're literally just getting off the ground, the most value that you can provide your business is finding deals, purchasing those deals, and getting them shipped, right? Let's not think about maybe some of the more complicated things, and how do I get an operations manager and all these things that can maybe feel overwhelming. It's about position yourself and take action on the most important things that your business needs, and just know that over time your business will mature. Amazon looks very different now to what it did in 2001. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Question for you. You talked about books. Are there any good kind of resources that you'd recommend reading, following, like looking at if people want to learn more about systems and processes?
Yeah, read a number of books at this point, and I love, number one, I would say I love Work the System. It's a great book called Work the System. There's the E-Myth Revisited, fantastic book. There's also a book called Clockwork. There's a book called Traction. There's some fantastic books. There's a book called The Perfect System, a book that I put together myself from just learnings. For those that are interested in some of the recommendations in books, I'm more than happy to share a link where I've listed all my recommendations in books. I'll share that with Tom. Maybe can put underneath or something.
Fantastic. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way? How can they learn more about yourself? And obviously check out Systemized Fulfillment. Obviously, great prep center. I definitely definitely UK and US, by the way. But how can they contact with you?
Well, you can find me on YouTube. If you just search for Kev Blackburn on YouTube, you'll see me. I'm always talking about taking massive action every day. I've got a couple of videos with Tom when he come and visited us. So there's about 6 years worth of videos. You can see the journey through the warehouses, etc. Or you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram quite a lot, sharing different stories and things. Again, if you just search for Kev Blackburn, you can find me there too.
Fantastic. I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and obviously if anyone's interested, do check out the links down below. Kev's an amazing guy, and obviously do check out his prep center as well. Absolutely incredible. But Kev, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.